Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kenneth Obebo, and I just wanted to share some thoughts once again. Interestingly, the title of this video is that execution is everything. But I'm going to start out by disagreeing with the title of the video. Nothing is everything. I remember seeing one of those British humor where a woman said to her husband after over 30 years of marriage that, hey, if I knew you were so broke, I would not have married you. And the husband replied, but you know, then when I met you, I told you you are my everything. The truth is, nothing is everything. But when you hear a phrase like execution is everything, it's trying to emphasize the importance of execution in bringing anything to come to bear. See, ideas come a dime a dozen. Everybody has an idea. I remember I had a classmate in university. I don't know how they came about, but his nickname was I had an idea. I think, okay, it had something to do with always flipping up his hand in class. I have an idea. So I think they just nicknamed him I have an idea. I don't want to mention his name, but yeah, that came about sometime in my university days. But everybody has an idea. The person who is raising up their hand, the person who is building something, and the person who is building nothing has an idea. Everyone has an idea, but only few act on the idea. That's why when you hear execution is everything, you find that, oh, the only way we know, the only way you bring your idea to the world is executing. It's not enough to tell people I have an idea. No, it's when you execute that your action, your idea, by your action, your idea comes to life. You know, there are people who have plans, all kinds of plans, yeah, business plan and all kinds of plans, but they never get to execute. So do you know what happens? It remains a plan. And there's this quote I read some time ago. It said, an average idea executed is better than a brilliant idea left on the polishing wheel. Always trying to dot your I, cross your T, make it a little better, and never executing. You're never going to bring things to come to bear. It's never going to benefit you or benefit everybody if it stays in an idea stage. And then there are people who are waiting to get clarity before they act on their idea. I've been talking in this same loop for waiting for clarity before you act, or some wait to be sure before they act. The truth is, clarity comes with action. I'll give you an example. When we were growing up learning to ride a bicycle, if you are moving, it's easier to be stable when you are moving. Now, to be stationary and be stable on a bike, you really need to be extremely good. But when you are moving, it's easier to be stable. That's the same thing with ideas. If you want clarity to come before you move, you won't get that much clarity. The truth is, it actually starts to get more tricky when you think and you think and you think, oh, if it goes this way. But when you start taking action, you get clarity from feedback. Yes, you do, you plan, you do, then you analyze, you review. Then from the feedback you get, it actually gets better. So every plan you have, if you don't execute on them because of clarity, it won't actually get clearer. No. When you execute, you can iterate. Yes. You execute the first version, it doesn't come out quite right. Then you do it again. It's like people who bake. Try a recipe, it didn't come out right, you check, you review, and then you do it again. Action removes confusion faster than planning. Action removes confusion faster than planning. The feedback you get from action removes confusion faster than planning. And then one other thing I need to mention here, speed beats perfection. Oh, do I mean that you should keep churning out terrible products, terrible ideas, terrible inventions? No. The truth is, as you keep churning out, you keep improving. Now, for those of us who were in Nigeria in the 80s or early 90s, there's some cars that came in from China and Korea that were of terrible quality, and everybody will tell you it doesn't have second-hand value. But the same China have been churning out better and better versions of those same cars. Now, if they have waited for perfection to start churning out cars, they will still be waiting. So as you churn out, don't wait for perfection. Somebody said done is better than perfect. Done is better than perfect. You can improve. You can improve. And for most people, perfection is actually procrastination in these guys. Oh, I want my video to be perfect. I've waited for perfection before shooting video. Trust me, there are still 1, 2, 3 things I would like to fix before in my videos. Definitely yes. But if I wait for perfection before I start shooting, trust me, you'll be waiting for too long. And there's this one of my favorite quotes by Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn. He said, if the first version of your product is perfect, you shipped too late. If my first video is perfect, it means I started recording too late. If the first version of car that China made is perfect, it means they started shipping their cars. So speed beats perfection. As you keep going, you actually get better. Now, consistency turns execution into result. Yes, you are doing it faster, but you are doing it again and again and again. See, one burst of action is not enough. No, that's not what we are talking about here. Execution is something you do again and again. Now, understand, iteration is you execute, you review, you plan, you execute, you review, and then you redo. Yes, consistency. You get better. See, the more you do, the better you become. Whether it's playing table tennis or learning a new skill. Execution is not an event, it's a habit. If you form the habit of executing, you will go much further, you will do better, you get more result than somebody who thinks execution is a one-off thing. No, execution is a present continuous thing. Once you plan, you execute, then you review, you change something, and then you execute again and again and again. So when we say execution is everything, that's the way it looks like. But like I said at the beginning, nothing is everything. Before execution, there has to be planning. Of course, after execution, there has to be review, and then iteration before you plan and then you execute again. And now, what is the engine of execution? Discipline. When the results don't show on time, you execute. When you don't have clarity, you execute. When you don't have all your ducks aligned in a row, you execute. When you don't feel motivated, you execute. I have said this too many times. Motivation comes with motion. See, when you start doing it, you get into the groove. You may not have the vibe at the beginning. When you start doing it, you get the vibe. It's like somebody goes to a dance hall and doesn't really feel like dancing, but after a while, he starts tapping his feet. A favorite song comes up, he starts nodding his head, and then he chooses to, starts dancing while sitting down. And after a while, he actually gets up on the feet, and before you know it, he says, oh, I didn't plan to dance, but I ended up dancing and actually ended up enjoying it. Motivation comes with motion. Remove every distraction, remove every excuse, and then get to action. Execute, whether you feel like it or not. And then one final thought I want to leave you with. Knowledge gives you potential, but it's execution that gives you results. I know a lot of people with potential have potential to have 1,000 videos on this YouTube channel. That's simply knowledge. It gives you potential, but it is execution that makes it kinetic and then gives you the result. So I'll close where I started from. Nothing is everything, but execution, when we say execution is everything, what we are saying is all your ideas mean nothing if they are never executed. Till the next video, keep executing, keep iterating, keep improving. Don't wait for motivation, don't wait for perfection, don't wait for clarity. As you do, you get better. My name is Kenneth Weber, and it's been my pleasure. See you in the next video.